Hi, hello, and welcome to Elasticsearch session today. And I hope you are enjoying the conference. And I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak with all of you. Today we're going to talk about how to run Elasticsearch or the stack on top of Azure. We'll talk about options. We'll also see some solution use cases, and we'll definitely have some demo time to talk about all of these. So now getting into the point, I'm Aravind. I work at Elastic as a developer advocate for India and ASEAN, the Southeast Asian nations. And then I'm available at Aravind Putrevu on Twitter. So if you have any questions, you want to DM me, you can put it in the chat right now, or you could also follow me and for more Elastic related updates on Twitter. Now that being said, I will quickly move on to the session. So the agenda of today's session is we'll talk about the brief introduction of Elastic stack, etc. Now you might know about Elastic for quite some time. You might know or heard about Elasticsearch, but this is something a reintroduction, and you could help. You might know something new that I'm talking about. I'll try to make it very interesting so that you probably might learn something new things. At the same time, we'll also talk about how to run Elasticsearch on various the different types in different ways on Azure, and we'll also look at some demos, and we'll also look at some interesting tidbits from the demos as well. And the focus would be definitely on Azure. Now that being said, let us quickly move on to the session. So Elastic is a search company. We are a company where we do a lot of search things. So let us look at what are the search things that we do. So whether you are probably opening or trying to go to a ride, take a ride on a ride sharing app like Uber, Grab, or all of these platforms, putting a point A and point B, trying to get a cab, or whether you are a person who is ordering food on something like Zomato or Swiggy or all of these platforms, food delivery platforms through which you'll be able to get the food, or if you are any one of these people, or like if you are a developer who is looking to search for bugs, search for threats, search for different things like search on data. So basically Elasticsearch is a technology that helps you to do all of these things, wide variety of use cases, different things. So we'll talk about some of these use cases today, and like we'll look into that. So the company or the stack does three specific things: search, observability, and protections. So while talking about search, there are many other use cases. I mean, three solutions that are built on top of search: Elastic Enterprise Search, observability that many of you might already be using or like know very well, and then you also have security, which is slightly new but mostly adopted by community, and like many people are very excited about what we are doing here. Now talking about search itself, I think as I said, we are a search company. There are a lot of things that we have done over a period of time, but then this is very interesting because it helps the developers to build interesting and insightful search engines very easily. For example, let us talk about workplace search. So enterprise search is not just for enterprises or something like that, but basically it contains three specific search engines, search types that you could look at, like app search or workplace search and the site search. So app search and site search are type of search engines that you could build on a web search, or like you can give a site and you can crawl the data and then you build a search experience, be it a WordPress site or Gatsby site or any site. You can take a public site which has a sitemap XML, and then like it will simply crawl and build a site search experience. Similarly, you have app search through which you can do something like a Yelp or probably a Zomato. When you want to search on a certain number of products and items, then you could do that. And then you could also go and look at something like workplace search, wherein if you have obviously a lot of us interact with large scale data sources like Slack at our workplaces, right? Like Slack, Salesforce, Jira, and a lot of these things. So what basically enterprise search does is like the workplace search does is like collate all these resources from different diverse sources and try to build a unified search experience for you all automatically. You just need to connect the app, and then like it simply works. So again, all of these products are free to use, so you could simply build a nice search experience for your internal org or your website, or probably even a public a public domain site as well. So that's about like the search enterprise search solution. Then comes the observability. And observability again is very popular. People use Elasticsearch for ingesting logs, metrics, now very much like application traces now, and then like now user experience monitoring, synthetic rum, a lot of these things, right? But then what we specifically help you to do is like, again, this is coming from a free and open solution that you could either monitor containers running in a Docker or a Kubernetes environment, or whether you are running on some cloud platform like Azure, or whether you are running on a on-prem DC. And we provide you a bunch of open source tools through which you will be able to collect, correlate, and also take actionable insights on these data that is there. And then you could simply even run machine learning algorithms to detect anomalies, to do data frame analytics, and a lot of these things actually. So this is what observability is, and a lot of things. So the goal is to provide an interface that you could correlate your data and try to make meaningful insight over a period of time. So that's what observability does. But this is very interesting actually, and my most favorite part is like the endpoint security or the elastic security that we have done. So we have a SIEM now, and then through which you will be able to hunt threats. The security community is very much excited about Elasticsearch security, and I mean the Elastic stack and the solution that is built on this particular place. And if you have, I mean, this comes with a free endpoint as well, through which you will be able to do anti-malware through an entire enterprise IT systems. And then you have a unique endpoint plus SIEM plus EDR solution through which you'll be able to collate all the event stream that is coming, and then you could apply the detection rules on be it cloud platforms, be it threat detection stacks like the frameworks like MITRE. So all of these are very interesting solutions that are built on single stack. Again, talking about all of these solutions, all of these use cases that I spoke, everything is built on single stack. And this single stack is a stack that help you to build all of this. So talking about the stack, so Elasticsearch is a distributed NoSQL REST-based data store or powerful search engine, and through which you can mold this Elasticsearch kind of a clay into a shape that you want. That is what is the use cases that we have seen. There are many other use cases probably you would want to use Elasticsearch for, say something like business analytics. It's quite possible, but then like these are specific use cases that we are trying to really focus on and help you to build stuff. Obviously there are many other use cases like features like Lens that you could leverage and then build on top of Elasticsearch. That being said, there are other modules which we call lovingly call actually as stack. There are other modules like, for example, Beats. You might have known about FileBeat. So what Beats does is like it puts the data from one place to Elasticsearch. I mean, it's a data shipper. And then you have Logstash, which is like kind of a generic ETL, which does extract, transform, and load. It pulls the data from various sources. It has a lot of plugin ecosystem, again open source, and you could also write your custom plugin. But please check before. There are more than 300 plugins that are available, and then pushes data into Elasticsearch. So Kibana, which sits on top of the stack, and then what it does is like it kind of helps you to visualize the data, helps you to make insights from this particular data that is stored in Elasticsearch, the search engine. So this entire thing is called stack. I also want to clarify a bit here. Many people perceive or like look at Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana as one set, and also call them as like elk stack. But it is not just elk stack, and many use cases you might not really need Logstash to do all of this. You can very well do EBK stack like Elasticsearch, Beats, and Kibana. You might just use Elasticsearch and Kibana to do a lot of things as well, because Elasticsearch is a programmable stack and you have a REST API to do all of these things. So that being said, let us quickly get into the session and then talk more about the deployment options, and then like also what Azure has to offer and what are the things that we could do with Azure. So like I said, it's an open source stack, and it's also platform agnostic. It's also vendor agnostic. That means you can deploy it on any OS, including on Windows. We supply MSIs so that you could run it on Windows. You also have you can run it on any type of Linux. There is a support matrix that you could go and check out. That being said, we also run a managed service that is called Elastic Cloud or Elasticsearch as a service, through which you'll be able to leverage all of these solutions pretty easily. The managed services again run on all public clouds. If you are someone like financial institutions, or you have a regulatory controls that you want to specifically make sure that your data is in your specific data center, etc., you could use the same Elastic Cloud and kind of run this Elastic Cloud in your enterprise, which is Elastic Cloud in your enterprise. And then you also have the Kubernetes orchestration operator, wherein if you want to run your Elasticsearch or the entire stack actually on top of the Kubernetes, you would simply be able to do all of this pretty easily. Like I said, like there are family of SaaS offerings that you could build on each of these public cloud, or if you want to run it on orchestrate or centrally manage all of these Elastic deployments in your own data center and offer it to your partners or consumers as a service, you could use ECE. And you could also look at this operator if you are running and very well looked into a Kubernetes kind of ecosystem as well. Now, that being said, let us talk about what Elastic and Azure has to offer and what are the things that you could do with Azure when you're talking about Elastic Stack. So there are 3 specific ways that you could deploy or use Elasticsearch. We're going to talk about one specific option. I'll try to give a blog link so that you could go and build on top of Kubernetes as well at the end of this session. So obviously the first option, because it's a platform agnostic, it's easy to use, so you could simply download the software from the website elastic.co, and then like you could simply run it on Azure VM, which is a VM virtual machine through which you'll be able to build this cluster, a distributed system, and manage this by yourself. That being said, you could also go and look at something like that being specifically said, like you could also go and it needs a lot of management. It kind of like you need to set the networking, you need to make sure that the cluster is always up and running, and a lot of these things. But then you also have Azure Kubernetes Service. We offer an operator which helps you to deploy the solution and manage everything very easily. So Azure Kubernetes Service is one another thing that you could run Elasticsearch on top of it, especially on Azure. And then you also have Elasticsearch service on Azure Marketplace. That's what we're going to look at today. If you are having a committed spend on Azure, and if you are a billing account tied up with Azure, and you are running a lot of infrastructure on Azure, you don't need to go ahead and build and do all of this like Azure VM or Azure Kubernetes service run by yourself. You could get all the support from Elasticsearch, all the features, everything that we spoke about just by using the Azure Marketplace offering that we have here. So we're going to quickly take a detour and kind of like look at the various features that are available on the Elasticsearch service. And then what we'll do is like we'll show you a demo and how you can create this deployment, and then also like how you can build a search or analytics use case. I have an example that you could talk about. Now, like I said, I don't want to spend more amount of time here, but then I want to just simply give an example and give you the mention of like how various solutions are deployed. You could use Elasticsearch service to do all of these various solutions. You could also like enable machine learning. All of this is a managed service, and you don't need to worry about networking. You don't need to worry about the data and scaling up, scaling down. You don't need to even worry about the upgrades of the stack, because it's a one-click upgrade. It simply allows you to upgrade to a latest stack, and all the versions that when you get into the release time, you would simply get it as soon as possible, so that you would simply be able to do all of this pretty easily. Now, we also think about security a lot, and there are several compliance mechanisms that are already in place, so that you will be able to look at all of this pretty easily. Now, that being said, let us quickly get back to the demo, and then we'll see how this entire thing plays out. All right, so here is our demo environment that we have. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use some specific services like Azure VM, Elastic Cloud Service on Azure Marketplace. We're going to set up a cluster. We're going to talk about search for a moment, and then we'll also talk about the observability part as well. So quickly getting to the topic here, like if you see, I have a subscription called Pay As You Go. It's been there, and then I have linked my the Azure and everything account there. We'll quickly get into the marketplace, and then we'll see what is the Elastic service that we have. You could type for Elastic in the specific the search bar here and find out. Make sure that you definitely look at Elastic Cloud, Elasticsearch Managed Service. Even this is Elasticsearch. That is the ARM template driven deployment that we have provided. And but there are few limitations, like you could spin up to only 50 nodes of Elasticsearch cluster, etc., etc. And then also like it's getting deployed on your creating an Azure ARM template using Azure resources. Like it creates a VNIC, it creates all of this stuff, but it's programmable script that creates all of these resources, but it's not managed. So Elastic Cloud service on this particular Elastic Cloud Elasticsearch service, what specifically does is like it helps you to manage this entire thing. I'm gonna like show you that particular stuff. So you click that, and then you have this how do you select a plan. Like you have pay as you go, there are plans, and there are some information about how you can do all of these things. So I'm not going to like read out all of that, but let's quickly get and set up this particular stuff. So click on setup plus subscribe. It takes you through UI and asks you to give a name to the subscription that you have. So this is like a SaaS subscription that you are setting up. So if you see, I have I can give you something like is Azure Conf. So that kind of like sets up the thing, because we are an Azure community conference, and then the plans and everything. And I'll simply click next, review and subscribe. I can give you this thing, and then like go ahead and like subscribe. So this takes us to a subscription, and once you subscribe to this plan, you will have to again configure your account on the Elastic Cloud. So why is this needed, or is it really important to do that or not? So essentially you are still subscribing to Elasticsearch service on Azure, and then all the support, everything is still run by Elastic experts. So we'll just wait for the subscription to complete, and once completed, it says that configure your account now, as you can see here. And then when I click on configure to account, so it will take me through authentication UI through which I could connect my the Azure account to the account that I have on Elastic Cloud. And more importantly, if I don't have an account, I think I need to create an account. So I already have an Azure specific account that I have done it previously, so it automatically might log into the thing, or you could simply use new stuff. So let me quickly go and write Azure plus Azure. So I have multiple email addresses, so I'm just using it to identify stuff. So it takes me to the login. Otherwise you will be presented with a registration page through which you will have to kind of log in and look at everything. So let me quickly kind of close this off. So if you could go to the billing account and see that the billing is linked to your Azure portal, like say for example, if I see visit billing page, it takes me through the regular Microsoft Azure's billing analysis, etc., etc. So it still points out. So you are billing your entire infrastructure is being spin off from that particular place, but then like you're just deploying using Elastic Cloud. So how cool. It's pretty easy to build all of this and then still be on the choice of your cloud platform. Now let us quickly get back to the create deployment. So there are various ways to create deployments. Like I said, I spoke about the regular stack, I spoke about search, observability and protection. You're just saying the same thing. Let's quickly get to the Elastic Enterprise Search. You can spin off a search cluster again using Azure, etc., etc. You could spin up a observability cluster, again more specific to logs, metrics. So under the hood, we create an infrastructure template that is more suitable to the time series data, like observability or security, or more content related stuff like your PDF documents or something. Then it comes to enterprise search. So these are the things that are done here. So what I'll do is like I'll also show you another option apart from just creating these Elastic Stack related stuff. So if you choose a regular Elastic Stack, and it will show all of these different templates that we have, like these are IO optimized, compute optimized, memory optimized templates through which you will be able to self-tune all of this hardware by yourself. That is one another thing to look at. So because we are talking about enterprise search, let us quickly go back and create two deployments. One is enterprise search and one is Elastic Observability. You can choose your cloud provider. I'll choose Singapore. At this point of time, we don't have Azure India resources. We are actively developing and bringing this particular solution to everywhere. But then it just takes some time, and then we're gonna show it. At this point of time, we are there on 44 public cloud regions, and then some Azure regions. So we're gonna actively bring up that as well. So and again, versions n-1 and the last version n-1 of that particular region, 6.x and 7.x. You could create a snapshot, enable monitoring. I'm not going to talk about all of that, but I'm just simply going to come and you look at create this deployment. Now this is one way to look at the things actually, and you will be shown username, password, and you should definitely download those things and keep it with you. As you see now, it's better you download it, and you can always reset it if not. When you click on Open Enterprise Search, it automatically takes you through the SSO. You don't need to really key in the credentials as such. But then, if you download it, it is definitely helpful to do something else. Now we have created an enterprise search deployment. Let's go back and also create a observability deployment as well, so that maybe if you want to do something related to observability, you could do that. And I'll also show how you could literally spin up a different sort of template. Now again, the name, and then the customize here, you could choose what sort of database and everything that you want. RAM size, this we didn't see in the enterprise search stuff. You can do that there as well, but you could edit and add some settings if you want in the Elasticsearch YAML. The fault tolerance, how many zones that you specifically want, and then coordinating nodes, machine learning nodes, Kibana, APM, because it's a kind of observability deployment, because that you have logs, metrics, you have traces, all of these things actually. Surprisingly, you could also add the enterprise search node here as well. It's just a common template that you could maneuver, but we definitely recommend you to keep the time series data specifically different in a different cluster than using your search engine and your analytics, operational analytics, rather than in the same place. It is not recommended, because both types of users, because one is a read heavy use case and another is a write heavy use case. So let us not, please don't do that actually. That helps you over the period of time, and you will understand as you go through. So you could configure this RAM, increase, decrease, and do all of that stuff. So let's quickly create that as well, so that we could have a deployment and we could try to collect data from Azure. If possible, we'll see if we can do that. So again, you could also use the equivalent API request and automate this entire stuff, and try to use the API, public API, to create this entire resources. Again, I'll download the username password here. So we are also bringing a Terraform client, so that you could use a Terraform module, so that you could use Terraform to spin up these resources and maintain, manage, optimize things through Terraform. While this is getting spin up, let us go and look at the other part. So let me quickly kind of open the other deployment that we have. So cloud, and then you could see that multiple deployments here. The enterprise search deployment is still getting created. So while this is happening, you could also go and look at, let us go and look at the other aspects of this particular UI. You have the instances and you have different configurations, how these things are happening. You have the links that are there available. So Elasticsearch and Kibana are already deployed. You have an enterprise search that is getting spin up. So like I said, enterprise search is a solution that is built on top of the stack, so that's why it is getting spun up as separate separate instance. And then you have this cloud ID, which is very essential, because cloud ID is the ID to access your cloud resources on Elasticsearch or the Elastic Cloud Console. So this is very important for you. We will definitely use it while we are trying to use the observability deployment there. Now if you want to rather than clicking on Open Enterprise Search, if you want to see what activity is happening behind the scenes, you could go to the activity and see what is happening here, how the cluster is being set, if there is any problem here, you could click on reapply to reapply the configuration that you want to deserve. And then there are many other things like the logs that are there as of now, like there are specific logs that you could look at. And you could ship also this monitoring of these logs to a different deployment. You could do all of that. So we're not gonna look at more of these. We will definitely come back if you want. I'm happy to help you to understand more about Elastic Cloud. We have resources that you could refer to. Now simply click on the enterprise search and see how we can simply access and build a search engine quickly. Yeah, so as I said, that enterprise search is an umbrella for solution different search products. You have app search, you have workplace search. Now let us quickly get into the app search because it's pretty easy to set up. If I click on launch app search, and you will be shown an onboarding UI through which you'll be able to create the search engine. So if I want to simply get started, let us try a sample engine. Let us click on a sample engine. It automatically creates a sample search engine and creates all the necessary information that is needed. And then you'll be able to, kind of look at all of this. So we are indexing a national parks data, some 50 odd documents that we have. And then you could build a search stuff here. So let us continue here. And I'll simply quickly go through the reference UI. So reference UI is another open source project through which you can generate a React app. So I'm going a bit fast here because of the time reason, but then otherwise all of these are there on the YouTube. You could also refer in detail of what I'm doing, but I just want to show the power of building this entire thing on Azure, again deploying on the Azure without you creating anything, and then simply accessing all of this easily. So we have the data is being done in a specific manner. So let us quickly select this particular thing and like choose the search engine related information. So I'll choose states as filter option. So I'm building a search engine actually, and then I'm trying to use that to generate a specific a UI. So this is what is called reference UI or the search UI. When I click on generate preview, what you will see is you will see a React app generated on the fly, and you just need to apply your own CSS. Like you have the data, you have created a search engine, the endpoints are available, and you also have a bare bones React app through which you will be able to run all of these things. So let me quickly search something, and you could see if I say Japan, right? So the autocomplete also is there. So if I create Japan, and then it will show me some specific details related to. If I say United, I'm just typing random names so that you will see that. So you could also tune this entire details, which one should come first, what are the details that are there, like say relevance, let us choose the top the things which are having more number of acres. So let us choose the parks which are there only in California. You could choose that. Let us choose if there is only World Heritage, like the Yosemite Park. So yeah, these are interesting things to look for when you're thinking about something like a search engine. So we have just took 5 minutes and we built a wonderful search engine, and then you can come back and tune and do a lot of these things on app search as well. So this is one way to look at the things. Now we'll quickly shift the gears and move to observability and see what we can do there. And let me open Kibana. Again, it automatically logs in, but definitely we need the username password to configure to ship the data from the Azure virtual machine to this particular deployment here. Now as soon as you click onto the login page, you will be shown a Kibana page. This is just the Kibana. You just need to look at various things here. You could install file beats, install agent for the logs, metric beat, heartbeat, a lot of these things like creating alerts and information that you will see as soon as you start running this particular stuff on top of the virtual machine. So I have the virtual machine that is running here. Okay, it takes a bit of time to bring up this particular thing. Okay, let me see if I could connect to the VM. Yeah, I could connect. I'll do sudo su so that I'm a super user here. I hope you're able to see the screen. If not, I'm just going to increase the size of it. If you could see here, we are in a Azure VM. And then what I'm gonna do is I have downloaded metric beat here already and installed metric beat, and I have also configured the details that are needed for to ship off the data from my Azure cloud and to monitor all the various Azure related stuff, metric sets, etc. So let me quickly configure the metric beat YAML that is there in etc metric beat YAML. And you see that I have multiple things that I need to configure because I need to tell where to ship this data, specific data, right? So for Kibana related data, I need to ship this, I need to give the Kibana so that we are gonna load some specific dashboards. So you don't need to create dashboards as well. If we enable the Azure module, the dashboards are all obviously gonna come here and do everything. So let us go back to the observability deployment and copy the endpoint here and then paste it here in the configuration that we have. Great. I have configured this particular thing as my Kibana. And then I'll also give my cloud ID because we are running everything in the Elastic Cloud, and then that's where your cloud ID comes into play. I'll simply go back and uncomment. As you could see, the cloud ID helps us to identify the deployment that we are running in the cloud, and we also need to give the cloud auth through which you will be able to run this entire the stuff. So let me give the double quote here and then copy the cloud ID that we have here. Okay. So as you could see that we have this cloud ID, we'll simply click copy. Okay. And then you have this. So we have given the deployment ID. It is obfuscated in a manner, and then you will be able to do all of that. So let me also put this particular, okay. You need to give this in the username password. This is where your the details, the specific details to the thing come in. Like that's where you need to download the username password. You could also set up your custom user. Like I can go to the observability, I could go to the settings, and I could go to the users part, the management part, and then go to the users, and then create a specific user and then use that particular user. Like say if I'm using Azure, and then like the password is test123 and then like I confirm the password, then my name is Aravind, and then I'm gonna use that. Okay, aravind.putrevu@gmail.com. Then I'll give them the super user. You can give different roles. So the beauty of running this entire thing is like you don't need to worry about anything, and then you can simply use this to control and simply leverage the features that are there, and then simply build out your stuff, and you get all the access. So I'm not going to use the Elastic one. Okay, now we need to give the authorization details, the username and password. So the username is Azure that we have here. And the password is, as we have said, like the details related to password. Let us quickly go. Now we have configured the cloud deployment details. We have configured the Kibana details so that we could create dashboards automatically through the Azure module that we're going to turn up now. We have to configure or enable the Azure. So how do I do that? So how do I ship? As I keep saying that I'm gonna pull data from my cloud platform Azure about different metric sets like storage, VMs and all of these infrastructure, and then gonna show that. So how am I gonna do that? So we have modules in Azure. Like you say, again, the modules are there in etc metric bit modules.de. In the folder, you will see multiple modules about Nginx. Each module will ship data that is specific for that particular general purpose software, like say Redis, MongoDB, whatever you have. Even services like platform related services, you could pull data from cloud services, and then you could ship data to Elasticsearch. And the benefit is you get nice dashboards, and you'll be able to build all of that. So I'll quickly I have done some groundwork before. So what I've done is I have created an AD app, and then I have assigned a contributor role, and I have created a client secret through which I could access the Azure APIs. So what this module does is it will go and collect that particular data from the Azure. So essentially, yes, we are running a VM to collect data from Azure platform and then shipping to Elasticsearch cluster. So that's what is happening here. So I have multiple modules. One is to monitor, one is to have compute VM. One module is specifically about the storage sets. One module is about container instances and container registry. So multiple modules, but each is calling a specific API and that needs a app. So we have used the app registry service to register app and do all of that. I have links that I could show off, and like you could do it by yourself as well. So these details are saved already. So now we should just enable this module and then load the dashboards in the Kibana, and then run this metric beat and see whether the data is shipping or not to the observability deployment that we have. So we are talking about the Azure metric place. So I am doing all of this from a guide that I already written, and it's already published. So you could obviously go and later point of time after the session, you could go and obviously go and look at these things. So this is just FYI, and I'll make sure that I'll give you this link so that you could also get into that particular stuff. So I'm gonna move to the user bin, and I'm gonna run. I'm just copying the commands here so that I don't make a mistake. So enable Azure, I have enabled Azure. So this disabled will become enabled. It just enables that particular stuff. And then I'm gonna enable the dashboards here, back to the WQ, clear off the stuff, and then run the dashboards so that we could set up the dashboards in the metric beat in the Kibana. So let us see if we could create this successfully. And once that is done, we could check the setup, and then we could start the metric beat itself, as we have already enabled the Azure module. So it will pull the data from Azure and then ship all the data. So it takes a while to create all the dashboards that are related to it. So this is, there are multiple modules. You could also go and look at metric beat list to look at all these modules. Yeah, now you could see that dashboards are all loaded. Now let us quickly go back and run the now let us quickly run the metric beat startup, and then we'll see if we could ship the data directly to Kibana. Okay, the connection to the, as you could see that the connection to Elastic Load has been established. Now we will go back to see what dashboards are configured and how you could go and look at it. So in the observability page where we landed, we should see some data that should be coming from the host that we have just started shipping up. Previously, you see that all these details are not there. This is the metrics data that we are talking about. We could also ship the logs by using logbeat, by filebeat. We could also look at the uptime by using the heartbeat. We recently have Elastic agents. You could also go and look at Elastic agent to get more information, like one agent encompassing all of these details. Now these are the dashboards that I'm talking about. We are going to specifically look at the Azure dashboard. So let me show you the Azure overview dashboard so that you can go and look at that, the storage overview, wherein it looks at the details, what are the buckets, what are the storage details that are there. You would also select the subscription that we have, the resource group and the resource name, and the latencies, what are the create, close stuff, and all the file, table, queue related stuff, ingress, egress staff, traffic. At the same time, you could also go and look at the most important one, we have seen the storage one. You could also go and look at the container registry or the VM guest metrics, the metrics that we are specifically looking at, the current the host that we are looking at. So let me go back and also see the other ones. Sure, VM, and then we have seen the details there. So the compute utilization in the last 15 minutes, whatever we have started, you could see the data getting filled up as soon as you get to do all of this thing. Now I have a cloud shell as well, so that's even being shown here. The VM name is Elastic that we are running in the virtual machine here. So if you could see here, the virtual machine that I am running here is Elastic. I don't know why it's over zoomed. That's the reason. So you have the Elastic virtual machine. So likewise, you could ship all the data that you have in the Azure. So there are multiple predefined dashboards that are there regarding billing, regarding different databases, regarding your container registry. If you have container, a lot of stuff, right? This is only metric beat. Again, you can look at file beat for all the log related stuff. You could look at uptime to find out your latencies related to your endpoints. All of this can be definitely done. So that is about the running Elasticsearch on the Microsoft Azure. Now what I'll do is like I'll simply share you a URL through which you'll be able to understand and do more stuff here. Like say we can go and look at how you can collate all the data and then push it to in the cloud, and then you could leverage your Azure committed spend or your existing Azure usage. So these are the resources that I would recommend you to go through, and that's it from my side. And I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. If you have any questions, you can DM me there, or you can look at more guides and tutorials on my website, or obviously you can chat, and I'm happy to network with you all. Thank you.